Hello friends, welcome to a new video in our economics series. In this video, I am going to discuss some important questions which will be based on the previous 3 videos on economics concepts, right? So if you want to answer the questions that are given here, then you must go and watch all those 3 videos. Without that, it is difficult to understand these questions and their explanations, because many of the things that have already been discussed in those videos will not be discussed in this video in detail. So with that introduction, let us start our first question. The first question is, which of the following statements is correct? Okay, so the first statement is, when the taxes increase. So what are taxes, that we will study in future videos, but the impact of taxes has already been discussed. We know that taxes are that portion of money supply which take money out of the circular flow of income or circular flow of money. Meaning, whenever taxes increase or whenever taxes are imposed, money supply decreases. So, taxes and money supply have inverse relationship. Now, you tell me one thing. Whenever government is trying to increase the money supply, what should it do? It should increase the taxes or cut down on taxes, because they are inversely related. Whenever government wants to decrease money supply, government must increase the taxes, and whenever government wants to increase the money supply, then government must cut down on taxes. And what will be the impact of increasing or decreasing money supply? We have already discussed, right? So whenever the taxes increase, the aggregate demand may decrease. Now you tell me, whenever the taxes increase, what happens to money supply? They are inversely related, right? So money supply will decrease. So if money supply is decreasing in economy, so what happens to demand? So demand and money supply, how are they related? Money supply and demand are directly proportional, right? So what does it mean? Whenever money supply increases, demand increases, and whenever money supply decreases, demand decreases. And what is the significance of demand in economy? I have already discussed in my previous video. Please go and watch that, right? So these two relationships are extremely important in order to understand not only this question, but higher concepts in economics, especially the expansionary and contractionary monetary policies, what is quantitative easing, and what is the impact of liquidity trap and all, right? So understand this very well. So let us go back to the first statement. When the taxes increase, what happens to money supply? It decreases. So when money supply decreases, what happens to demand? Demand also decreases, right? The aggregate demand may decrease. So this statement is correct. Next, as the prices increase, then the aggregate demand may increase. Now this statement is asking us, what is the relationship between the prices and demand? Now if you have read this in economics, then you must know that there is an inverse relationship between price and demand. Now this is based on common sense. In fact, all these relationships are based on common sense. Let's say you have 1 lakh rupees to buy a bike, and the price of the bike is also 1 lakh rupees. So you will go and buy that bike, right? What happens if the price of the bike increases? It suddenly became 1,50,000. You had only 1 lakh rupees. So if the price increases, would you still be buying that bike? No, because you will wait for the prices to fall, right? So whenever the prices increase, demand decreases. So what this statement is saying, as the prices increase, then aggregate demand may increase. No, as the prices increase, aggregate demand decreases. So second statement is wrong. Hence, the answer to this question is A, one only. I hope you have understood these relationships. If you know these relationships, then it wouldn't be difficult for you to answer different types of questions that are asked in UPSC and other competitive exams. And you go and see previous year papers also of UPSC and other competitive exams. You will see that many of the questions can be solved using these relationships. Let us go to the next question. So this is a previous year question which was asked in 2021. You will see that this question can also be solved using the relationship that we have established in previous question. And if you have already watched my previous videos, then it becomes a cakewalk for you, right? So now let us see what this question is asking. Which among the following steps is most likely to be taken at the time of economic recession? You should know what happens during economic recession. Economic recession ke time par demand is very, very low. Why demand will be low and how demand is connected with economic recession, I have already discussed in my second video. Okay, so whenever demand is low, what other thing will be low? In previous question, we saw that demand is directly connected with money supply. Meaning, demand is low it means money supply is also low, right? So during economic recession, money supply or the money in the hands of people will be low. So the steps which will be taken by government during the economic recession will be to increase money supply. Because whenever money supply will increase, it will automatically increase the demand because they are directly proportional, and when demand will increase, it will automatically decrease economic recession because they are inversely proportional, right? This relationship I have discussed in full detail in my second video. Now let us understand the steps which are given here. First step is cut in tax rates. So before going further, first understand what is the relationship between tax and money supply, because we are trying to increase the money supply, right? That is how economic recession will be tackled, right? So tax rates and money supply, if you want to know, they are inversely related. Again, this relationship is based on common sense. You see, if government increases tax rates, whether you will have to pay more money to government or less, more money obviously. So when you pay more money to the government, are you left with less money or more money? Less money. So you see, whenever tax rate increase, money supply decrease. And when government decreases tax rate, money supply will increase. Now here first option is talking about cut in tax rates. So whenever tax rates are decreased, money supply will increase, which is good because we are trying to increase the money supply, right? So the first half of this statement looks correct. Now let us see the second half. Cut in tax rates accompanied by increase in interest rates. Now let us establish a relationship between interest rates and money supply. So interest rates are indirectly related to money supply. Whenever interest rates go up, money supply decrease. Now tell me, your dad wants to take loan to build house and current interest rate is, let's say, 8%. Okay, now if interest rate goes up from 8% to 12%, now tell me whether your dad will take the loan to build house or not. No, obviously, because whenever interest rates go up, you have to pay more money to bank for taking loan, right? So whenever interest rates go up, you will not take loan from the bank. If you don't take loan from the bank, money supply will not increase, right? Hence you can say that interest rates are inversely proportional to money supply, or they are indirectly related, right? So what this first statement is saying, cut in tax rates, which is good because if you cut tax rates, money supply will increase, then that is what we want. But second half is saying what? By accompanied by increase in interest rates. So if you increase interest rate, money supply will decrease. So first half of this statement is correct, but second half of this statement is wrong. Hence this statement is wrong. Now let us see second statement. Increase in expenditure on public projects. So what happens if government increases expenditure on public projects? See, whenever government is trying to build a road, a highway, it needs people, it will employ people. So whenever people are employed, their income will increase, and when their income will increase, they will buy more stuff from the market, and because of that demand will increase, right? And when demand will increase, I said it will help tackle economic recession. So option B is looking correct, that increase in expenditure on public projects. Government should increase expenditure during economic recession. So second option looks correct. Let's put a star mark and move ahead. Now let us analyze the third statement. It is saying increase in tax rates. We have already established a relationship between tax rates and money supply. So what happens if tax rates are increased? Money supply will decrease. So this is not the correct option, right? Because we are trying to increase the money supply and increase the demand. So option C is wrong. Now let us see the last option. Option D. Reduction of expenditure on public projects. Now this is exactly opposite of this. Because we have to increase expenditure on public projects in order to increase money supply and demand, not reduce expenditure on public projects. So whenever there is economic recession, government will increase expenditure on public projects. So option D is also wrong. Only option B is correct. So you see how I tried to solve the question? What you need to do is, whenever such questions come in exam, first try to see what is the most important step that government will take in order to deal with this situation. Now in economic recession, we saw that government will try to increase demand, and how demand will increase? By increasing the money supply. And then you connect this point with the points given in each statement and establish relationships. These do not take much time. For example, if I am given this question, it will not take more than 1 minute to solve this question, because these relationships are already there in my mind, right? I just have to apply these and see which of these options is correct and which of these is wrong. So try to develop this skill of creating linkages between different topics in economics. Now let us understand the third question. Which of the following constitutes investment in economy? If you have already seen my first video and if you have already read Introductory Macroeconomics, then you will know that whenever in economics, when economists talk about investment, they do not refer to investment in stock market or other such investments in financial markets. They refer to investment in fixed asset formation. These fixed assets are also called as capital goods. What are these capital goods and how are they different from intermediate goods and final goods? I have already discussed in my previous videos. Please go and watch those videos. So, which of the following constitutes investment in the economy? First is production of consumption goods. This is clearly wrong because consumption goods are not capital goods. Okay, what are consumption goods? I have already discussed in my previous videos. Production of capital goods. See, capital goods production is called investment in economy. So, option 2 is correct. Production of services. See, production of consumption goods, services, these do not constitute investment in the economy. So, option 3 is also wrong. Buying and selling of shares. I told you buying and selling of shares, though it is called investment in common parlance, but in economics, it is not called as investment in economy or it is not called as gross investment in economy. So, option 4 is also wrong. So, we are left with only option 2. So, B is correct. Let us see the next question. Which of the following statements could be true for a high savings economy? Now, what is savings in economy and what is the significance of savings in economy and why India is called one of the low saving economies in the world? I have already discussed in detail in my previous videos. So, in order to understand this question in detail, please go and watch those videos first. Which of the following statements could be true for a high saving economy? So, whenever an economy is having high amount of savings, which of the following will happen? Higher investment? Yes, because savings are generally directly related to investments. You will see that whenever savings increase, investment in economy increases. And what is investment? This is not buying and selling of shares and all. This is increase in capital goods. So, savings is directly related to investment. So, whenever there is high savings in economy, investment will increase. Higher consumption. See, you will see that savings is indirectly related to consumption. Whenever you save more, you consume less. So, whenever there is high saving, obviously consumption will decline. So, second is wrong. Third, higher exports. So, whenever there is savings, it will increase in investment, right? And whenever there is more investment in economy, there is more production of capital goods. And whenever there is more production of capital goods, there will be more production of other goods and services. So, can you see the trend, right? So, these kind of relationships are important in economics, okay? So, you should have them in your brain. So, whenever capital goods increase, production of other goods and services increase. So, obviously, whenever the machines which produce goods and services increase, they are called capital goods, the production of other goods will increase, right? So, whenever production of other goods will increase, so what will happen to exports? Whether exports will increase or decrease? Obviously, extra goods and services are being produced. So, they will be sold outside the country. So, whenever production of goods and services increases, exports will increase. So, you see, savings leads to increase in exports. How? Savings increases investment. Investment increases capital goods. Capital goods increases production of other goods. And because of excessive production of goods, exports will increase. Right? So, statement 1 and 3 are correct. Hence, correct option is B. That is 1 and 3 only. So, tell me, can you observe an important relationship here? So, whenever investment and exports are increasing, why they are increasing? Because there is increased production of goods and services. So, what is the meaning of increased production of goods and services? Increased production of goods and services means GDP is increasing, right? So, can you say whenever savings increase, GDP will increase? So, savings and GDP have direct relationship. So, in order to increase GDP, we have to increase savings in economy, right? So, this economic model which focuses on increasing savings in order to increase GDP is called as Harrod-Domer model. We will see what is Harrod-Domer model and some other components of this in detail in the next slide. So, we have already established this part of relationship, that is rate of economic growth, which is GDP, is directly related with levels of saving. whenever levels of saving increase, GDP increase, right? We have already established this relationship in our previous section, right? Now, what is this capital output ratio? Now tell me, for GDP to remain same, when savings are increasing, GDP increases. For this to remain high, this must be low. Whenever denominator is low, then the overall relationship or overall the value will increase, right? This is basic maths. So first let us understand what is capital output ratio, or it is also called as incremental capital output ratio and abbreviated as ICOR. Now what is this? Now let us understand this with the help of a simple example. Let's say that you are starting a company manufacturing biscuits and you have invested 100 rupees to manufacture one packet of biscuit, and let's say your profit in this is rupees 10. Now tell me, next year if you want to increase your profit by rupees 10, that is if you want to make your overall profit 20 rupees, then whether you should invest same 100 rupees to manufacture this one packet of biscuit, or you have to reduce it to 90 rupees. Only if you reduce this 100 rupees, which is the cost of producing one packet of biscuit, to 90 rupees, then only your profit is going to rise by 10 rupees. So you have to decrease your investment, or the incremental investment, or the extra investment which is required to produce next packet of biscuit, then only your overall profit will increase, right? So what is happening here? Your incremental capital, or the amount that you are investing to produce this one packet, is coming down. So this is the basic understanding of this incremental to capital output ratio. So for economy to grow, it must invest less and produce more. Then only its raw materials will be used efficiently. Then only we can produce more by investing less. Let us try to understand incremental capital output ratio in further detail by putting it in ratio format. So incremental capital output ratio is the annual investment required to produce the annual GDP. How much we are investing to produce our GDP. For example, the current GDP of India is $2.7 trillion, right? Now this is the GDP of India. Now tell me how much we are investing to produce $2.7 trillion. Maybe we are investing $1 trillion, right? We are investing 1 trillion to produce 2.7 trillion in 2022. Now tell me, in 2023, should this investment come down or not? Only when this investment comes down, then we can say that our economy is becoming more efficient, meaning this ratio, whenever annual investment will come down and GDP increases, what happens to the ratio? Ratio will decrease because denominator is increasing and numerator is decreasing. So overall ratio will decrease, right? So the marginal investment, or the extra investment which is required to produce the next unit of GDP, is called ICOR. So this marginal investment, extra investment which was required to produce the next unit of GDP, is called incremental capital to output ratio, right? It is also called as marginal efficiency of capital. So why it's called marginal efficiency of capital? It will tell us whether that extra investment is being utilized efficiently or not. So whenever annual investment decreases, ICOR will decrease. So when ICOR is decreasing, we can say that efficiency of economy is increasing. So ICOR and efficiency are inversely related, meaning whenever ICOR is increasing, it means that economy is not being efficient in utilizing its resources to produce GDP, and when ICOR is decreasing, we can say that economy is becoming more and more efficient. So tell me, in order for GDP to increase rapidly, savings should increase. What should happen to capital output ratio? It should decrease. So for if question comes in UPSC or any other competitive exam related to GDP, savings and capital output ratio, you should know that savings is directly related to GDP, meaning whenever levels of savings increase, GDP also increases, and capital output ratio, which is ICOR, is indirectly related to GDP, meaning whenever ICOR increases, GDP decreases, meaning efficiency is declining. So this is what is called as Harrod-Domer model. UPSC has already asked questions on this. In future also, UPSC and other competitive exams, there will be questions from this relationship. So understand this relationship, revise the video and watch it again and again so that your concept becomes perfect. See, I just told you that there are questions on ICOR. Here is a question. Previous year question asked in 2018 in UPSC. Despite being a high saving economy, capital formation may not result in significant increase in output. See, in previous questions, we established a relationship. What is that? Savings is directly proportional to GDP, right? We said that whenever savings increase, GDP increase. So this question is saying, though saving has increased, capital formation has happened, right? Because I said in previous question, whenever savings increase, investment increase, and whenever investment increase, capital formation will increase. So despite being a high savings economy, capital formation may not result in increase in output. Savings has increased and this has increased capital formation. But still, this may not lead to increase in GDP. Why? That is the question. And if you see the Harrod-Domer model that we discussed previously, you will get the answer. So the question is saying savings has increased, capital formation has increased, but GDP is not increasing. What is the reason? So I already told you, even if savings is high, GDP may not increase, or in fact it may decrease if capital output ratio is high. Capital output ratio must decrease in order for GDP to increase when levels of savings increase, right? So ICOR must be low. When ICOR is low, then only savings will have impact on GDP. If ICOR is high, then savings will not have impact on GDP. So what is the answer to this question? Just see, first statement is saying weak administrative machinery. See, weak administrative machinery might decrease the efficiency of economy, but this is not the most probable answer. Second option, illiteracy. See, if there is illiteracy, then savings will not lead to capital formation, because for savings to become capital formation, skilled manforce is required. So it means there is no skilled manforce. So GDP to bahut dur ki baat ho gayi, there will not be any capital formation only. So but this question is saying that there is capital formation. So B is also wrong. High population density. See, population is high doesn't mean that GDP will not increase. So this could be the answer, but not the most probable answer. The most probable answer is high capital output ratio. So for savings and capital formation to translate into GDP, ICOR must be low. So when high ICOR is there, then savings and capital formation will not translate into high GDP. So the correct answer to this question is D, high capital output ratio. Let us see the next question. Which of the following are components of economic growth? It is asking which of these will help in increasing GDP of economy, right? Growth in skills of labor force. So obviously, whenever there is a growth in skills of labor force, efficiency will increase, people will be more skillful, they will produce more goods and services. So option 1 is correct. Second option, investment. So we already saw, whenever there is savings, there is investment. Whenever there is investment, there is capital formation, and capital formation leads to economic growth. So investment will lead to economic growth. So second statement is also correct. Third statement, technological progress. So it's very easy to guess, because whenever there is technological progress, efficiency and productivity of economy will increase, and that will lead to economic growth. So option C is also correct. So all these three are correct, hence option D is the right answer to this question. Next question. Which of the following statements are true? First option is capital goods are final goods. Yes, capital goods are final goods. Why they are called final goods, I have already discussed in my first video, that is types of goods and services. Next statement is both capital goods and intermediate goods act as inputs in the production of goods and services. Yes, both are inputs in the production of goods and services, but they are different. Capital goods and intermediate goods are different. How they are different, I have already discussed. So the answer to this question is both statements. Let us see the next question. Which of the following statements about factors of production is false? It is asking for false statement. I have already discussed in detail factors of production. Please go and watch that video. The term factors of production is another term for resources. Yes, this is correct, because factors of production are also resources in the production of goods and services, but they are not like the raw materials, because factors of production are not used up in the production of goods and services. They remain intact. So first statement is correct. The factors of production termed labor means human resource. So labor means human resource. That is also correct. The factor of production termed land means natural resource. Yes. The factor of production termed capital means the money which the owners of firms need in order to set their firms up. Now this is a very, very important statement, and this statement is the correct answer because this is wrong. The question is asking for false statement. So this statement is false. You might have already studied or you might have already watched my video where I discussed 4 factors of production. Which are those? Land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. The fourth statement is talking about capital. So when we talk about capital in factors of production, it doesn't mean money. Capital as factor of production. We are not talking about money which is required for running the operations in a company. We are talking about capital goods, machinery, building, vehicles for transportation of goods and services. These constitute the third factor of production, that is capital. It is not the money which the owners or firms need in order to set their firms up. So money is not the part of capital which is factor of production. Another important point you should remember is that land is also not counted as capital. Okay, so whenever we talk about capital as a factor of production, we are not talking about money, land or raw materials. We are talking about machines, roads, bridges, ports, vehicles for transportation of goods and all these things. Let's discuss the next question. What is meant by intermediate goods and services? I have already discussed intermediate goods in my first video, which is on types of goods and services. Please watch that. The first statement is the same. They are same as capital goods such as plant, buildings, vehicles and machinery. See, in previous question, I said that capital goods and intermediate goods both act as inputs. But there is one fundamental difference between intermediate goods and capital goods. And what is that? Intermediate goods are used up in the production of final goods. However, the capital goods remain intact. To explain this, I will use a very simple example. Let's say you have a machine which is converting wheat into flour. Now, both wheat and machine are acting as inputs in the production of flour. But wheat is an intermediate good, machine is a capital good. Now, wheat is completely being used up in the production of this flour. Wheat has completely disappeared, right? And it has become flour. But machine is still there. It remains intact. So, this is the difference between intermediate good and capital good. Now, the first statement is saying that they are same as capital goods such as plant, machinery. No, I just said they are different, though both are inputs. Second statement, products which one firm buys off another and then uses up in its own products. For example, let's say this company is manufacturing flour and this company is selling wheat. So there are two companies, company A and company B. So what is happening here? Company B is taking product from company A and using this in its own product, right? So this product is intermediate good in the production of the product of company B, right? Hence this looks correct. Let's see the third option. All inputs bought by firms including labor and raw materials. See, both labor and raw materials are input in the production of flour. Let's say there are some people who are working in this company to manufacture flour. Raw material, which is wheat, is being used in the manufacture of flour. Now tell me whether both of these are raw intermediate goods? No. Labor is a factor of production. This raw material, which is wheat, is intermediate good. Hence option C is wrong. Let's see the fourth option. Imports. See, imports means it can be wheat as well as machine. So you cannot say both wheat and machine are intermediate goods, right? So not all imports are intermediate goods. Some imports could be intermediate goods, but some imports could be machines. So D is incorrect. So the correct option is B. Let us solve the next question. What is meant by the term final goods and services? I have already discussed this in my first class. They are same as the term intermediate goods and services. Obviously they are different, right? Intermediate goods are different, final goods are different. In previous question we saw that wheat is intermediate good and flour is final good. So they are different. So option A is incorrect. Now let's see the second option. They are same as the term consumer goods and services. You know final goods are divided into two types, consumer goods and capital goods. So final goods means not only consumer goods but capital goods also, right? So consumer goods, though they are final goods, but it excludes capital goods. Hence this statement is incorrect. Third option. All goods and services except those traded second hand. Not all goods and services. Some of the goods and services are intermediate goods. Hence, not all goods and services are called final goods. Hence, option C is also incorrect. Next option is option D. Goods and services which are finished as far as the economy is concerned. If you watch my video on types of goods and services, I have given you two important criteria to differentiate between final goods and intermediate goods, Please go and watch that in order to better understand this question. So the correct answer to this question is D. This question is based on different methods of calculating GDP, that is gross domestic product. We have already had a bird's eye view of how different methods are used to calculate GDP. We will be discussing this in detail in our next video, but if you have already watched my videos, then it should not be difficult for you to understand and answer this question. Consider the following statements regarding GDP. It is the value added by all the firms in the economy. So it is the value added. So if we calculate GDP by value added method, then this statement is correct. Second statement. It is the final value of goods and services produced in the economy. So this is talking about GDP by product method. So if you calculate GDP by product method, then this is the statement for that. So second statement is also correct. Let's see the third statement. It is the sum total of final consumption and investment expenditure by government, private and household sectors. Yes, if we calculate GDP by expenditure method, then this is the statement, right? We have already seen the formula for calculating GDP by expenditure method, and if you have watched that video and understood the formula, then can you tell me what is missing in this statement? See, it includes final consumption and investment expenditure by government, correct, private sector, correct, household sector, correct, but what is missing? Net exports is missing. Hence, this is not a full definition of GDP by expenditure method. Hence, option 3 is wrong. Fourth option. It is the income received by 4 factors of production. Now, if you calculate GDP by income method, then obviously GDP is same as income or the factor payment received by the 4 factors of production. Hence, option 4 is also correct. So the correct answer is C, which is 1, 2 and 4. So whenever you are looking at such questions in UPSC and other competitive exams, please make sure that you read each statement clearly and correctly and find out if there is any inclusion or exclusion. And if there is any exclusion, then that statement becomes incorrect. Next question is, which of the following is called capital formation or investment in economy? We have already discussed this multiple times in our videos as well as in previous questions. Now you tell me what is the answer. Which of these called investment or capital formation? Production of capital goods, obviously it is called investment in economy or capital formation. Production of consumer durables, no. Consumer durables are final goods, but they are not capital goods. Hence they are not part of investment in economy. Hence option 2 is wrong. Third, investment in fixed deposits. See, you keep money in fixed deposit. That is your investment. You might say that I have invested in fixed deposit, but when economists talk about investment, fixed deposits are not part of that. Only investment in machines, buildings, boats, ports, vehicles, roads, highways, that is called as investment. So option 3 is also wrong. Next is investment in buying a vehicle for business. Yes, if you buy a vehicle for personal consumption, no, that is not investment or capital formation. But if you buy a vehicle for business, that is part of investment. So option 1 and 4 are correct, hence B is correct. Let us discuss the next question. Which of the following is part of fixed capital? Now I have put this question for a specific reason. Okay. Now again the question is asking the same. Which of the following is called investment in economy or capital formation or fixed capital formation in economy? Now the first option is land. I just told you that some items may appear to you as fixed capital or investment, but they are not. For example, land. Similarly, natural resources, then fixed deposit, then investment in share market, then any investment for personal consumption. So all these might appear to you as investment in economy or fixed capital formation or capital formation, but it is not capital formation from the view of economics. Okay, so land is not. So first statement is incorrect. Second, machinery, yes, correct. Vehicle, yes, vehicle for business, not for personal consumption. So vehicle is correct. Buildings, yes, building is correct, but only for business purposes, not for your personal consumption. You have built a home. That may be fixed capital for you, fixed asset for you, but from economics point of view, it is not. Natural resources, I just excluded natural resources from the list of fixed capital. So the correct answer to the question is machinery, vehicle, building. Right? So only 2, 3 and 4. 2, 3 and 4. Option D is correct. So this complete our discussion of the questions. These questions I had picked specifically to help you understand some of the different concepts that we have already discussed in our previous 3 videos, right? Please go through the questions once again and try to solve them by yourself, okay? And most important thing that you learned from this video is that in economics, it is extremely essential to understand the fundamentals and create connections between various concepts. Like, you must know what is the connection between savings and investment in economy. What is the relationship between savings and capital formation in economy? What is the relationship between capital formation and GDP in economy? Then what is the relationship between interest and money supply? So all these connections will help you solve the questions asked in any competitive exam like a cakewalk. So I hope you are enjoying our economic series and watching all the videos. The next video is going to be very important. That video will help you understand what is GDP and how different methods are used to calculate GDP. Okay, and one more important thing, please like, subscribe and share this video for the benefit of other people. Until next time, bye bye, take care.